welcome. Thank you again for coming. I know everyone is always busy, and this will only be for half hour because we have to teach after this. So I know that it will not extend after that. So that's why we have to be pretty prompt and to the point. I also have an agenda printed out as well. And we have someone taking minutes over here. So welcome to our fall advisory board. And I'm handing out itinerary. I also had this on the calendar as an attachment as well. And we're going to take you through all this. So the next thing is introductions. My name is Abby Rich Creek. I think I should know. Yeah, you're prepared. Look at you. And our minute taker is
Lexi Demopolis. I teach 8th grade science and biology.
I'm Mr. Wise. I teach 8th grade science as well as flight and space. It's good to see all of you back. I recognize a bunch of you from the last time we did this.
And I'm Jason Fleming. I teach the 7th grade science and Honor 7. And I'm Abby's partner when it comes to, she's a STEM coach and I kind of just do whatever she tells me to.
So I think that we should do short introductions of yourselves real fast. Maybe your name and where you work or your role. I guess. Would that be okay? Does that sound okay? Okay, we'll start over here.
Luis Vega, I'm an engineering director at Orthopediatrics.
Thank you.
Tracy Horrell, Assistant Superintendent.
Elizabeth Parapesco, Associate Director of Research and Technology at Thor Biolab.
Malika Klingeman, co-president right now of the Edgewood PTO. Thank you back, and just very involved in the community, and so my kids to have you.
Jenna Carter, former co-president of the PTO, this member, and have my youngest is in there.
I'm Frederick Sells, I teach here at TC, and as I was just looking over an itinerary where I went in Michigan with cadets, the Army's very interested in actually beefing up its STEM capabilities within as a program, and also support other areas of our school community.
Sharon?
Sharon Metz, former substitute teacher, and just kind of do whatever.
Russ Lowry, technical brand lead with now J&J MedTech for hips and shoulders.
Alan Decker, VP of Operations and Engagement with OrthoWorks.
ERAC, co-president for PPE, and I am a student here at Edgewood as well.
John Rackno Association. Head of Global Supplier Quality and External Contract Manufacturing for Baxter Healthcare. And I also have a student here.
General Masters Facility, Warsaw Schools.
And Kristen, could you please introduce yourself, please?
Crystal Olson, Warsaw Community School, I'm the Chief Communication Officer.
And then, of course, Joella, please.
I am Joella Houseman, I'm the principal.
All right, so many of you were involved with our first PBL that we did back in this, what was that, the spring of 24, Boys in the Boat. And at that time we had aspirations that, hey, we're going to do it again, but we didn't want to do the same thing. And we took the initiative we took what we already had put in place, and we changed our focus all the way to the book that we read. We took student and teacher feedback from Boys in the Boat, and we created a new PBL. And what I'm about ready to show you is a little bit of what we did this last spring with our almost astronauts. Just a little short video here, if I can get it to go. PBL stands for Project Based Learning. It's a
their clipboards, they have their calculators ready, they're writing down observations, group feedback, so they're launching 5 different rockets, and then after they get their data back, they're gonna go back to their groups, redesign a new rocket, and then build it, and then test it again for the competition. So they're kind of experimenting right now, so they can redesign later. My group had the aerodynamic rocket, so we had to figure out stuff to make sure that it stayed in the air and that it would actually fly. So we put a nose cone, we put fins, and then we made our body of our rocket smaller so that it would work better.
The prototype that I'm building, I have the aerodynamics challenge. So we're trying to build a rocket that goes the furthest with the CO2 cartridge powering it. So from the book, we learned that we need to have a low drag ratio, so the least amount of drag possible. Because we only have a limited thrust of the CO2 cartridge. We have to make the plane as aerodynamic as possible, least drag, and we have to keep it up as long as possible so it can go the furthest.
The first time we do things is never the best, all right? So for kids, they just want to submit their work done. So this project kind of encourages and forces them to go through that process. And so at first they're kind of disappointed, or they're hopeful that it's the first time it's going to be the best. And so what this process and this activity does is it says, hey, first time isn't the best, let's go back, let's make it better. And so when they get the results today, we're all going to have great conversations, I already know, about what they're going to do differently next time. My group, we decided that if ours wasn't good, we would make either the rocket bigger or make it smaller, depending on if it what happened to it. I think for our group specifically, we did a few things wrong, which is fine because today is our first trial, so we'll have to fix that. And then I think that today will just be a good learning experience to fix our rockets and make them better.
It's a fun unit to be able to, let's take something and make it a big picture item. Let's work together and collaborate together to create this one project as a team. I think it's a great opportunity for students to learn teamwork, to learn how to work together, to learn all sorts of skills. And you don't have to be the greatest at math, you don't have to be the greatest at science, but to be able to learn along the way and build those skills to working together is super cool to see.
I think my favorite part of the project was probably working in groups. I think if we worked alone, we would have had struggles with just coming up with ideas and other things like that. So I think working in groups was probably the best part.
It's really great because the ideas I have are much less than the ideas of 3 people in my group. So we all made prototypes, we all had our designs, then we put them together and made this perfect ideal rocket so far, and we'll see how that works in the testing that we do.
I think it's super fun. I love that we have a school that gives us these opportunities rather than just being in the classroom. So getting to do something like this is really cool. This project, from the beginning to the end, they're engaged. And so as a teacher, it's fun to see kids take learning into their own hands. Instead of me giving instructions and telling them the steps, they're asking, they're anticipating, they're being curious, and they're eager for the next phase. So it is really thrilling to see for a watch.
Okay, so that was a special from WNIT last spring. That was done on our PPL.
Now, like I said, if you've been here before, we're boys in the boat. What we really liked about this aspect that we did this time was the idea that we actually had these 5 different projects all working at the same time within each of the classrooms. And what we noticed was, and what a lot of teachers' feedback was, when we did Boys in the Boat, we tested one time. It was like, hey, we went over to the pool and we did it. We were able to do prototypes, but it wasn't at full scale. This one actually, we took it and we tested. What Ms. Danmiller was talking about was the idea of doing it again. So we went out, tested everything. They got observations, they got feedback from groups, and they were able to then go back and test the final time when we had the competition.
So we are planning, so that was this last spring, we did Boys in the Boat in 2024. So we will be doing Boys in the Boat this next spring for 2026. So then 7th and 8th graders, they never have the same experience. So as we're kind of, navigating through challenges on water. So again, maybe you just want to think about it. You can email me later. There's no pressure right now for you to think about that because you have the outline, and I will also email you this presentation. So if you think of something else that you think is important, we will definitely consider it for our 2026 version of Boys in the Boat.
We also incorporated, this summer, we were fortunate enough to come in and work again, refining this process. We're adding a component to Boys in the Boat this year. Mr. Demopoulos tirelessly worked over those 3 days to come up with a new design. So there's going to be something new to this because we didn't want to sit and let it become, we've already done it. We wanted to continue to build and make it a little bit better, a little more unique, a little bit more inclusive to get more kids involved the entire time. So many of these things are very familiar to you. If you did the judging before, hopefully we refine that a little bit better this next time too. We have our rubrics that we go through. There's all sorts of different kind of competitions depending upon the interest of the students. Everything from costume design all the way through flag design. We are going to do the flag this year again. Hopefully we'll get more that are into the digital aspects of designing and then the sublimation process of being able to then sublimate. That was really interesting. I think that's going to be that next level thing where we're going to start to see more and more of that, especially since last year our this year's 8th graders, we went through a sublimation process and we explained that process to them. So now they're going to be interested in doing that, we hope. And then wow factors. And then for the rocket aspect, we did bulletin boards again, and this time we added the feature where we had presentations. So if you were part of the presentations, some of those were outstanding. I mean, kids really got into it. We got more kids engaged, and they took ownership of this entire process, and that's what we're really looking for. When we kind of did the first one, you always had the ones that were really, really engaged, but then you had the ones that were just kind of sitting back and this isn't for me, you know, how do I get involved? And when we started adding the verbal presentation to it and making them all responsible for that, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't talk in front of it, and I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about, so they started to engage with it much better.
So, of course, we're always trying to gear our classrooms as well as this project as we're going back and we are retooling it to how we can make it better for this upcoming spring. We want to know what are some of the skills that we can really be preparing our students for to work where you are working. Because that's what we're eventually preparing them for. So if you end up finding the time, you can scan this QR code. It's just a quick 2 questions, your name and different employability skills that we can really retool and refocus this PBL project to be. Some of the ones that we already have in there, big time collaboration, because that's the skill that no matter what job you go into, we know that we're trying to prepare our students to have, as well as the design process. But we know that there are a lot of employability skills that we're missing that we want to highlight for this project and in our classrooms. So if you find the time, scan this QR code. You can later or now tell us just some of those employability skills from your businesses that you would want us to really imply into this PBL. And if this link doesn't work for you, please feel free to email me at mys@warsawschools.org, and I'll just send it to you directly if that works better.
For those of you that were not part of the PBL, I think that there was a short little video.
Was there?
What is, maybe, hopefully.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, look at me.
This is what Scott Green did for us. able to create some presentations to spread what we've done at our school, and hopefully we would mentor or inspire other schools to do the same, since it was a great impact on our own. So we went to Purdue University to the STEM conference that happened in January, and we presented a team of teachers in the upper left corner. We went and we presented there about the voice in the vote, what we just saw. And then we also were given an opportunity and got our proposal accepted, and it was refereed, like they had to approve our proposal, and we were able to go to the International Technology and Engineering Association's conference as well in March. And we also, Lori Thompson and I also did another one where we integrated sand carving along with her reading with Alice Merlin.
And we just recently, we videoed our presentation again. The conference actually contacted Abby and asked us, they said that presentation that we had was one of the most sought after at the conference. It got really good reviews on it, and they asked us to video that so that then they can post that to their materials, and then it'll be shared even further from that. So that was a big feather in the cap for Edgewood, just because we've created the framework now, and we've had other schools already reach out and ask, how do we do this? You know, how can we help, or how can you help us? We want to do something like this. So this has turned into a really big deal.
So we have, again, did some proposals for ITEA and for the Purdue conference as well. This time will be about rockets. And our title is Igniting Minds, Rocket Challenges that Reach New Heights. And then Lori Thompson and I are doing one where we're doing sublimation and her The Giver book with the students, and a story to STEM, a core and elective collaboration. Just to show that core teachers and elective teachers can work together to make something even more meaningful and more fun and hands-on. So, 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to NASA in Cleveland, Ohio. I was with myself and another teacher. We were asked to do beta testing on a wind tunnel lesson. So I was able to go to John Glenn Research Center and get a private tour, which they don't offer public tours. So I had to get security clearance and everything, and I was able to go to the icing lab, or the wind tunnel, and it's like the only one in the world like it. It's where they simulate clouds, and they test the wings of rockets and airplanes, commercial and private, people pay, or that's military, it's all kinds. And I was able to watch how they do that and meet people that make it happen. It's really cool. Also, I was able to go to the slope lab where they simulate what it's like on different planets, and then they continue to, let's say they have a problem with the rover, then they simulate it there, and they figure out the problem and tell astronauts how to fix it. So it was a really cool experience. It was 2 days, and I was able to do those things, and it's really cool. They paid for everything. It was cool. So here's some pictures.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Go on. So those are just pictures. Okay, so really where our input is needed here, how can our partnerships between our school, our families, and communities strengthen STEM opportunities for students? And that could be from the Boys in the Boat to astronauts to anything that you see or you've seen for Edgewood, and what we plan to do for future, present, whatever that would be. We're open to that, so that's where we're kind of leaving it open for your feedback, so we can record it and figure out how we can make Edgewood even stronger in STEM.
Now, Joelle and Abby are probably going to hate me right now, but we've thrown around some ideas of a new PBL project that we want to do or are thinking about doing. Since we are in Indiana and this usually takes place in May, we're thinking possible soapbox derby kind of cars and things like that. So, I mean, there's an automotive component within Indiana. We have a racetrack in Indiana in May. Again, trying to ignite the minds of students in a way that's those things like, how do we continue and how do we make it fresh, not only for students, but fresh for staff as well, and continue to build upon this, so. Down the line.
Do you guys have, I don't know if you're asking for feedback now? or you just
Yeah,
wanna
we're
see now?
ready.
Okay.
We're ready.
Do you guys have, professionals from the area that kind of are in the sciences, to do brief presentations in these classes? Is that something that would be of interest or you think beneficial?
No, we haven't yet, because I think that we were so concerned like everything else, but I think now that we're ready to move to the next level, and so that would be something that we would like to do, and, we need to improve on as well, because it was kind of like, we're worried about this, but now we have that down, so now we're ready, I think, so that would be great, thank you.
And then are you guys doing, I think at one time there was discussion about doing field trips to different like manufacturing facilities or other laboratories and things like that that are, drivable. Is that something that has happened or is a possibility that would be of interest?
So we had the teachers do it, Zimmer Biomed 3 years ago? I don't know, John. And so that was a really cool experience for the teachers to see, what the students need to, prepare for.
Yeah.
And we were able to have, we had like 3 rotations, and it was really cool. I think, for all of our students to go, I think that would be, difficult, not impossible. But, I do think that it was valuable for the teachers to experience that, and then they can relate and also reference that in the classroom.
So Ortho Works for several years has sponsored something called Discover Me, which is for all 8th grade students to discover manufacturing. That includes industry tours. We got a lot of feedback that was really kind of overwhelming for everybody involved, and maybe not as much impact as we hoped. So we're changing that event to use our VR tool to expose kids to careers in orthopedic manufacturing, including entrepreneurship. And then from those interested, we will set up industry tours for them, so that it's a little less impact and a little more focused on them. I had a thought too, if the federal government isn't gonna regulate AI, I wonder if some self-regulation might be great, especially for students to kind of weigh in on how AI is being used, should be being used, and how they might adopt best practices as consumers of that technology, as it's here to stay.
What's your partnership with Grace College like? Are there professors or resources there that you're able to avail of?
So I partnered with them for Go Baby Go, and we've continued a partnership where we make prosthetic arms, and we're gonna continue that this year. But at that point, that's as far as we have gone at this point. So, again, that's a good avenue to explore as well. That'd be a good idea. We started, we just haven't gotten fully developed goals yet.
What about is it Watershed Foundation or something through Grace and Facility Foundation you guys were talking about? Yeah, because that would be more like biology based as opposed to just engineering, which again, both are great, but that would be another opportunity to engage in a local program. They seem like they have quite a bit of education through that program.
All the new labs.
Yeah.
General idea on your guys' on the boat thing, just to try and change it up. I think one of the things we've talked about historically is just the different pressures that come in industry. And, you can have the greatest idea in the world, but if it costs too much, you're not gonna get it implemented. I wonder if there's a way to put some restrictions in or stresses, if you would, on the boat. I mean, I've seen my kid build a couple. Somebody donated like 10 rolls of duct tape to help the cause. That's a home situation, but is there requirements? You start putting in some requirements like, hey, it can only be this long, it can only be this heavy, must be able to take on this amount of water without sinking. There might be some other avenues where it's not just the race, but maybe you can get into like structural and integrity $100 worth of duct tape added.
add to the constraints, you know, these are what you have a size constraint.
5 foot by 7 foot.
And they do have a duct tape limit per SRT. But those are things that we can take into consideration and make it a little more challenging.
It'd be even more fun if you introduce some new ones midway through the project, and see how this one goes.
You know, what if you made them row a boat the way you row a boat? You're just telling them, you're not going forwards, you're looking the
Or
other
you're
way.
looking backwards. That's it.
Even like just like stretch goals, like, you know, different challenges, like.
Because that would fall into the actual rowing that the boys of the boat, the rowers actually have participated.
And you guys thought about like the flags? Rowers identify where they row by the blades on there. So instead of a flag, like a blade design.
Yeah.
I do like seeing like the English teacher being pulled into cut down a little bit there. With an art thing, I think we kind of talked about how you continue to push them into some non-STEM areas. So I think the more you guys engage our teachers, I mean, science is great. We all agree physics is the superior science, so that's cool, but, you know, we got our teachers a little bit more, just harassing my way over there.
No, I know. No, I'm just.
But, you know, pulling them in for some new concepts too, or ideas, what they
I-
thought would grow and maybe incorporate it.
We couldn't ask for a better staff when it comes to these projects. The first one there was a lot of sweat. And some of the staff were really, really nervous about doing this. We got through the first one and we thought, hey, we're gonna add a whole bunch of different things. And, when we did that, they just took it in stride, they're like, going, okay. And it's just like one right after another. They know that Abby will, you know, during our PD days, we set it so that they are well prepared and we support them. I'm fortunate enough to be able to go into each of the different SRTs and support them in areas where they need help, answering questions or whether it's talking through a process again. So they know they're gonna get the support. So like John said, they're willing to try stuff now. And if you, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you asked some of them to take on something like this, you think I was asking for a kidney. But now it's like they're gung ho. It's like, hey, what are we gonna do this time? And they've all embraced it really, really well.
I was gonna say the genetics project that you guys, I think that, yeah, you guys had, I thought that the presentation kind of, I don't wanna say judging session, but like that really, I think, that's half of the battle, is getting them to overcome just their ability to kind of feel comfortable in front of a group, be able to communicate in a, you know, strong, well thought out manner, and I thought that was a great activity, so I think it's a great exercise to continue to reinforce those skills and for those that maybe aren't as comfortable, to continue developing it. And then you're still getting that STEM element because of the subject matter that you're covering in, whether it's genetics or some other scientific. I think that's a really important skill to continue developing.
And with that activity, we've started to push it not just for the honors biology students, but all eighth grade science students. So we do it in both of our eighth grade science classes. So each student, no matter what level that they're at, gets a chance to actually build a presentation and actually practice presenting it and then present it in front of people that they don't know.
Right.
Because that's such an important skill for students to have.
Yeah.
And I've since taken my thermodynamics project, that my honors kids started that, and they do their presentations. Last year was our first year we took that down to the Science 7 with all of our students. We haven't hit the presentation component yet with our Science 7s because the concepts of thermodynamics can be very difficult for some students. So we're working this year with my partner. We'll start to look at that presentation component as well.
Because I think that goes back to your question about employable skills. That's, communication is huge. And if they can overcome that, then the rest is pretty easy to kind of pick up. But that can be a very challenging skill to develop.
you guys the opportunity to come in and share with us. This is definitely a village type of situation here where it takes everybody. With your guys' guidance, with our abilities to work in the classroom with the students, we couldn't do it without you, and we really appreciate and really look forward to your feedback on these different ideas that we have, because we like to, here recently, we really like to push the limits. So I'm hoping that you're able to hit the QR code and get a little bit of feedback to us, so we can hit some of the target areas that you guys really think that students in a middle school really need to continue building on.
And I'll send this presentation out later on. I have to teach in a little bit, but after that, I'll send it out as well. And again, thank you for coming and using your time, so we really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey Jason, when are you guys starting the project this spring?
Sorry?
When are you guys starting the project this
Book read
spring?
will start it usually starts right around late January, beginning February. And then we'll get through the majority of the book during the winter months. We'll start the design process late February, early March. And then the build phases go through April into the beginning of May, and then our race is usually that last week in May. So we're gonna secure the pool again.
I know. We gotta hope that we